Peki şomku gider. Hava takkana. Hava takkana. Yerşini timati. İmina kuzma. İkeşen badi. İkabeşima imina. İsuzuki keşen. İşi şabesu. Samuna taşme aşi. Ani tutuye. Ani tutuye. Takkana.
Tam Welcome, indigenous media viewers. Today, our live show focuses on the human rights situations in the Benishangul Gumuz region and indigenous peoples' territory. In the past few years, Benishangul and indigenous peoples' territory has experienced violent conflict, often between uh, indigenous peoples of the Benishangul and also Ethiopian population from Ethiopian highland. Since these episodes of sequential human rights situations in the region has erupted, there has been very little attention given by the Ethiopian authorities as to as to the situations of human rights in that particular region. Neither has the media, the Ethiopian media and international media also focused on issues of human rights situations in that particular region. Yesterday, 11th of September, marked the Ethiopian New Year. Ethiopians across the world have celebrated Ethiopian New Year. In this context, I should say, today I'm joined by Khalid Nasser, a human rights defender from the Benishangul Gumuz region. Mr. Khalid has often been our contributor on the issues of indigenous peoples in that part of the country. So today, Mr. Khalid is going to talk us through on the situations, on the violent situations, and also what Ethiopian last year has been, and also what exactly the new year would expect in terms of these human rights situations in that particular. So I would welcome Mr. Khalid. Mr. Khalid, welcome to Indigenous Media Show.
Thank you, Mr. Nikeo. Thank you for inviting me, and I really appreciate it. And Happy New Year in Ethiopian calendar. As you said, just it is very sad, that while some people are celebrating the New Year, some people are arrested uh, to go to prison on the prison. Uh, Mr. Badri Hashim is one of the Benishangul leader, and he's one of those who played a very good role in education in Benishangul because he was the
Mr.
first.
Khalid, I think before you proceed, can
Yes.
you first update to us as to what last year meant to the indigenous peoples in the Benishangul Gumuz region?
Really, for Benishangul, the last year it was a bloody year because many atrocities were committed in Benishangul, starting from the Jawi area where over 600 people killed, and then we have experienced since within the last year we experienced many people were killed on the street coming from Addis Ababa and going to Addis Ababa, and our people were isolated for some time, and no one can travel or go to Addis Ababa. And so last year really was one of the worst year in Benishangul, and I hope that this new year comes with great hope for the our people in Benishangul, and the same in Gambela and in Low Omo, where many people also suffered from the Abyssinians and from the government and the security forces of the government. And so we hope for all the indigenous people this new year comes as the new, not as before, because we don't want our people to get killed as it happened last year, where many people were exterminated in Low Omo, in Gambela, and Benishangul. Go back to you, Mr. Mikhail.
Well, Mr. Khalid, it is true last year has been bloody in the sense that a number of people, conflict has erupted in Benishangul Gumuz. between ethnic Gumuz and other Ethiopians coming from Ethiopian highland. But why though? Because this territory, the Benishangul Gumuz, indigenous peoples, by nature and by character, are peaceful groups. Why a shift in this relationship where people who are peaceful are now involved in conflict?
Well, really, what you say now, it has been said even by those highlanders who were brought to Benishangul and settled there. Because these people, what happens now, the Amara National Party, for example, go to Benishangul and instigate troubles there, and they try to make trouble with using the warlords who have been there for a while, who were brought there in 1983 and 84, and some of them they were around 1978, around these areas when they were brought to Benishangul. And these people are used by the national Amara party, and that's how the problem starts. And besides that, the dam now, since the dam were constructed in Benishangul, also that is bringing a lot of problem to us, is a challenge. And besides that, the Amara are facing a lot of problems when they were evacuated from many regions around Ethiopia, from the south, from Oromia, and from all these areas, and they were forced to go back to Amara. And now the Amara needs some land. And that's one of the reasons that they wanted to they attack our people in the northern part, and they commit genocide, atrocities, and because they want to force those people to leave the land for them. And and that's what's happening. And I think when the problem erupted in Benishangul, where the warlords and the Amaras who were brought there as the settlers with the indigenous people, some of their elders said, guys, when we came to this land, we were starving, we were hungry, and we came to this land, and these people gave us shelters. They hosted us. They were not they didn't show any animosity against us when we came, and they gave us land, they gave us everything, and they shared everything that they have with us. But now I think what is going on is not going to help us, because we are in animosity now. We are attacking each other, and this in the long term is not going to help. And I think that is the message that I would like to send to the Amara National Party and those who extremists in Amara. I don't mean all the Amara. I mean those who are extreme, the extremists. Those people, they should know that whenever they make trouble in any region, in any indigenous land, they are creating long-term problems. Because when you kill someone from the indigenous people, it doesn't mean that these people, they are going to forget that person and those who were killed, and they just stay with you peacefully in the long term. No, that's not going to happen. Because when you kill these people and they take advantage of the government, because you take advantage of being in power and being very influential in the federal government, and you use the power that you have, whether military wise or any power, and you use it against your own people and against the indigenous people in Benishangul, whether in Benishangul, Gambela, Lo Omo, that is going to create long-term problem. And I think we are not going, as the Benishangul people and as indigenous, we are not going to forget that our children are going to be taught all these atrocities. And and even those people who are nationalists, the Amara nationalists and the extremists, when you call about nationalism, you should apply nationalism in a very peaceful way. And you have to convince me that and you have to encourage me, and give me something that can encourage me to be part of the nationalism that you call for. But when you commit genocide and you use the government against me, and even Mr. Abiy Ahmed, the media, the national media, the opposition media, and all of this, no one speaks about the atrocities that were committed in the indigenous land, especially in Benishangul, Low Omo, Gambela. And that's how the problem broke in Benishangul and in all this area. They need land, and they need the dam issue also, because what happens nowadays, the Amara nationalists want to remove the Gumuz people in the northern part from their own land in order to settle the Amara people, even going from Metekal to the dam area. And even there is a map that I saw the day before yesterday on the Facebook that was posted by one guy. He shows that he says that all the dam area belongs to the Amara. And what I'm very surprised of is that all this land, when you say Bija Midir, and all these areas, even Amara Bahardar, and all this, historically, all this land belongs to Gumuz. And we have the map, we have the evidence that this land belongs to Gumuz. And now still, we left those areas for them. We didn't want to ask for it. And still they are going back again. They want to grab more land. They want to commit atrocities against the indigenous people. And they want to evacuate all these people from their own area. They want to remove them from their villages and cities. And that's why there is a problem in Benishangul. And I think this problem is not going to stop until these people stop their aggression and their attacks on our people, because they are the one who attacks the villages, they are the one who attacks cities, they are the one who close roads, block roads, and do all these things. Not the indigenous people, because indigenous people always, they are peace lovers. They want to be in peace, and that's all. And they are very welcoming people. They are not aggressors. The aggressors need to stop, and that's from the northern part. I go back to you, Mr. Mikhail.
Thank you, Khalid. Historically, the land that we are referring to, Benishangul Gumuz, the territory belonged to the indigenous people. Ethiopia often says that there is enough land. Should the issue of land be resolved, not peacefully? Why should it be violently?
Yeah, that's the question, because that's the problem that comes from the Highlanders. Because if we go back, when they came and they settled in these areas, even we know that their settlements were forceful, by force. No, I mean forceful settlement. I mean it is a planned and orchestrated settlement by the government, and they strategically they planned that to settle the highlanders in this area in order to force the indigenous people to migrate or to leave this land and to escape and to go to Sudan and to go. They are trying to use all means to force the indigenous people to leave this land. And but from the indigenous side, when these settlers came, they were given opportunity and they settled, and no problem were created at the time, because they were starved, they were hungry, and they got the opportunity to fill their tummy. And now, after they became well economically, especially because the government favored them. The government, when they were brought, they were new villages were built for them, and they were given tractors, and they were given cattle, when the indigenous people were not given anything. So they got the opportunity. The government helped them economically, while the indigenous people were disregarded and ignored and were isolated. And despite all this, the indigenous people didn't attack the highlanders at the time. They were left alone, and they were given land by the indigenous until today. And what happens today is the Amara nationalists instigating these problems. And the reason that they want more land and they don't care about the indigenous people. What they need from Benishangul is they need land and the resources. What they need in Gambela, they need land and the resources. What they need in Low Omo is land and the resources, but they don't want the indigenous people. And that's where the and these people, they didn't only use the government, they also used the African Union. Instead of African Union, instead of campaigning for the right of the indigenous people in Africa, they used the African Union for their advantage. And the African Union, despite our outcry, despite our the media, the indigenous media speaking about this, despite even your participation in many conferences that you went to, is still the African Union didn't condemn the Ethiopian authority for the crimes that they are committing against the indigenous people. And although these Highlanders, they never ever felt that they're Africans. They never were proud of being Africans. The only time that they claim that they are African was when they are in trouble. Like when they come and they speak about the River Nile and the dispute that they have with Egypt. That is the only time that Ethiopia go out and cry, "We African, we need to work together with Africans." But in reality, Ethiopia never been proud of being African, and they think themselves are superior to Africans. That's why they target the black people in Benishangul, in Gambela, in Lower Omo, because they don't want them; they want the land. And even solving the problem peacefully for them it is not attainable because they what they want is not what you want as indigenous. As indigenous, as you welcome them, you don't mind them living with you, sharing that land with you. But unfortunately for the Highlanders and for Amara especially, what they need is they want to use the federal government power, and they want to use their whatever they can to evacuate to remove the indigenous from their own land and to settle their people in this land. They don't want you because you are not part of them. And even the proof of that, today when you see, whenever there is a problem in these areas, the national TV doesn't speak about it. The national media doesn't speak about all these things. Even the oppositions, the opposition media outside, whether ISAT or all this media, they don't speak about what is going on in Gambela, what's going on in Low Omo, what is going on in Benishangul, because all of them, they are one. Their plan is one. They agree upon it. They don't want to show you as part of their society. They don't want to, because they don't want to recognize your existence there. What they want is to say there is a land. That's why, for example, that's why they didn't call even the dam, they didn't name the dam Benishangul Dam as they named the other dams by the land, by where, by the region where the dam is constructed. They call Benishangul Dam as the Renaissance Dam, and we call it Benishangul Dam. So I think, as indigenous people, we need really to wake up. We need to wake up. And clapping and dancing with these people is not going to bring stability and peace and security to our people. Our people's rights are going to be violated, whether today, as it happened long time ago when they were invaded, and as it happened since they were invaded, and for the future, unless we organize ourselves by all means and stand for the right of our people and campaign throughout the world about the violation of human rights in the indigenous areas in Benishangul, Gambela, Low Omo. Go back to you.
Thank you, Nasser. Let me take you back. I think yesterday was Ethiopian New Year, and earlier on you talked about the arrest, which is a new wave of arrest in the new year. I should say. Can you tell us more about this new arrest?
Yes, you know, internationally, the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, for example, allows people to travel, to move, and to travel between countries, and you have the right to travel to the neighboring country and come back, or travel from a village to a village, or to move, right of movement. But unfortunately, now in Benishangul, our right, especially the indigenous rights are violated. There is a very huge infringement of our people's rights in Benishangul compared to the highlanders, to the settlers. For example, if when we in the last few days, even including yesterday, people are celebrating the New Year in Ethiopia. When people are celebrating that, everybody enjoys that time. But unfortunately, in Benishangul, the government went after the prayer of a Friday prayer, and the people went home. Some of them, they were invited in their friend's house, and they were having the lunch. And unfortunately, they just were surrounded by military, and not one person, not a policeman, or not one person of security forces or security serviceman. No, they were, just surrounded by like two trucks of full of soldiers, and for one person, and the other person, Mr. Al Badri, the same. Mr. Mustafa is the same. And I was shocked when I was told that these people, they use big numbers to arrest these people. And when Al Badri is a very old man, he's around 80s. He's in 80s, and he's sick, and at the same time he can't see well, and he can't even walk properly, because he's old. And he was a education minister. He was a minister before. And these people yesterday, they were just arrested without any regard to their age, to what they have done to the region, and without any accusation. And that is a violation of even the constitution, the regional constitution of Benishangul people, where they say that no one should be arrested without, for example, the Article 21 of the right of accused person. Even they shouldn't be even accused. They shouldn't be accused. They say, for example, Article 20 of 1 of 20. It says, person arrested has the right to be informed promptly in a language he understand of the particular of the charge and the reason for his arrest. These people yesterday, when they were arrested, they asked those soldiers, those soldiers, why they're arrested. They need to know the charge, that they know. They want to know why they are arresting them. But what they are told is, either you go, or you see, or you suffer the consequences of your refusal of not being cooperating with the law. How can you ask me to cooperate with the law that you don't apply? You came and you arrest me without any paper from the judge or from the police that I need to be arrested for a certain issue. You didn't tell me why I'm arrested. So that is one of the problems that our people are facing. And this thing has been going for so long time. And when we compare this situation with other highlanders, even in Addis Ababa, wherever they are, we have seen many atrocities committed. And when people come out uprising, whether in the south, in Oromia, in Addis Ababa, in all these regions, we haven't seen any arrests as we are seeing it in Benishangul. In Benishangul, even people didn't uprise. No one demonstrated. No one went out against the regional government or the federal government. Just people get arrested for no reason, for no charge, for nothing. So, and it's very sad. And I think even the media, I always accuse the national media and the opposition's media, those who claim that they are oppositions. Because if you are opposing the government and you are speaking about nationalism, why don't you speak about the violation of human rights in Benishangul, in Gambela, in Lower Obo, you try to turn a blind eye on what is going on there, and you speak about the atrocities. That is even you go to Benishangul, you attack people there. When people try to defend themselves, you cry to the world that your people were attacked in Benishangul. And although you are the one who are sending military and the soldiers to go and kill indigenous people in Benishangul, but because you have the media, you have the means and the tools, you cry. You kill people and you cry at the same time. And that is not acceptable, because I think in the 21st century, I think most of the world knows what is going on in Ethiopia. And that's what the Amara nationalists don't want to understand, that what used to happen in 18th century or 19th century in many places. I mean, in 19th century is not going, or 20th century, it's not going to happen now, because everybody knows. The international community knows what is going on. For example, the Jawa area atrocities. It is all known by many embassies, by all embassies. All the diplomatic corporations should know what is going on in Benishangul. They know about the atrocities. And the proof of that, during the settlement in 1980s, in 80s, that happened in Benishangul when they brought these settlers. They were planning to bring more settlers, more than 250 at the time, to Benishangul. But the European Union, the European countries interfered, and they stopped the Ethiopian government not to implement that kind of policy, of strategic policy in changing the demography of the demography of the area. And I think they should learn from that the world is following, and they know what is going on in Benishangul, what is going on in Low Obo, to stop that. But if they don't stop it, I think this is going to lead the country into more chaos and than it is now. Go back to you, Mr. Mikhail.
Thank you. How many people in total were arrested that you are referring to? And
Yesterday, 4 people.
any good gesture
Go on.
from the government in terms of those people who were arrested before?
Yes, we heard yesterday that the good gesture is, but it's not really for start good. We can say it anyway. Good that they released 508 people. But in reality, when you compare a person from a village who are not
But
educated, who don't
500 out of how many?
many thousand, many thousand, many thousand. I don't know the number, but many thousand. And those people, they were arrested, and they were now freed and released, but without charge. They were not told why they were arrested, and now why they are released. No one knows. Just they arrest you, you stay there for as long as they want, 5 years, 10 years, 7 years, and then they come and they make you to sign a paper to say, okay, I'm released. But I didn't. So this is what they do. They arrest you, you stay for a while, and they release you, and for you no reason, and you don't know why you were arrested. And the same issue is happening to these people now. And what happens when you release, for example, this number out of many thousands of people, and even these people that are villagers, most of them, they are not educated. They don't have any influence on the nation. They don't have anything, any ideas what's going on in the region, because they are not educated. And you go, instead of uh, just freeing them, releasing them, you release them and you go and you arrest the leaders and the educated ones, because you don't want the the the the, the, the federal government with their puppet in the state, the regional government. They don't want those who are educated to be out. And because if you are an educated person, at least you will say, or you might tell them, this is wrong. and you must oppose the kind of the policies that they apply. Especially from yesterday, one of the reasons that they arrested Mr. Al Badri Hashim, who is 80 years old, and Mr. Mustafa Musa, and Mr. Hussein Bandaras, and Mr. Muhammad Ashula, and all these people were arrested because the government knows that from yesterday or the day from yesterday, they don't have the legitimacy to govern because they lost legitimacy and they are not elected government, even including the prime minister and all regional governments. They are not legitimate and they are not supposed to rule or to govern now, because the election was supposed to be was supposed to take place, and they postponed the election and violating the constitution, and so. But the only region that has the authority now, the legitimacy to speak and to say something, is the Tigrian regional government, who the one which I wanted to congratulate from here.
I will,
Say
I
that
will come
relation.
back. I will come back to that, Mr. Khalid.
Yes.
Are these two people who were arrested the only two people so far arrested recently?
No, no. You know, we have Mr. Zarrouk, who were arrested like 3 weeks ago, and we have a teacher who is specialized in the language of Berti people, and he wrote many books that are taught in at the university and for the school at schools as well. And this guy also, he went. I think he went for a business, or he crossed the border going to southern Sudan or to Sudan, I don't know. Anyway, he crossed to Yabus, but unfortunately, and he was arrested by the Sudanese, by the SPLA, Sudan People Liberation Movement, the northern fraction, and they were arrested there on the border and handed over to the Ethiopian security forces, and also with the only reason. This is a violation of the Human Rights Declaration, because people have the right to move wherever they want. If they wanted to travel to neighboring countries, or to, especially when you are one ethnic on the border, you can go and say hi to your family members on the other side. And but in Ethiopia, in Benishangul, the Ethiopian government, our people are not allowed even to go there, especially when you are educated. You know, they try to use all the means and the relation with the Sudan Liberation Movement, the northern fraction, uh, because they have they have agreements that to arrest our people, educated people who cross the road, the border. And this guy who was arrested in Yabus and handed over to the Ethiopian security forces, and now he is in prison. He was arrested on the 4th of September, 4th of September, and also before him, as I said, Zarrug was arrested, and this teacher, his name is Abdul Nasser Ali. And also now, as I said yesterday, they arrested two people, and also another two people before that, Mr. Hussein Hussein Bandar and Muhammad Shula also were arrested. And this is and still now, yesterday I was told, even this night for me, I think it is night now, it's not night, it's morning now, but I have been people send me messages and they told me that it's still the arrest is going on. They arrested some people from Sirkole, they arrested some people from the villages, but they didn't mention the names because they don't know how many, who are they, and they were not brought, they are on the way to Asosa. Still, they didn't arrive. They didn't reach Asosa, so that's why they didn't tell me the names. But that's what's going on in Benishangul. The arrest is going on, and even by tomorrow, I think the number is going to increase. And every day, there are some people getting arrested. Go back to you, Mr. Nikhail.
Thank you, Khalid, for your time, for your insight. Viewers, We will come back. Let's have a break. Thank you. Welcome back, Khalid. Khalid, I think you tried to mention the issue of the Tigray election. You shared a statement that is issued by the Benishangul People's Liberation Movement regarding the controversial elections in Tigray region, which is against the um, federal government election. Can you tell us more about this?
Um, Thank you. You know, the Tigrayans, the Ethiopian government, the Abiy Ahmed's government, is um, trying not to recognize the election, and I think that which is wrong, because what happens here, if the Tigrayans didn't, you know, that's the problem since the Abiy Ahmed came to power with the TPL, with the Tigray region, and the Tigray region now seems like a country inside a country, you know, like a separated region, and there's no any connection between Tigray and any other states, and not many people are allowed to go to Tigray and come from Tigray, and those people from other region who went to Tigray were arrested, and even the government is running after them to get arrested, and so which means the Tigrayans are the Tigray region is isolated. It is not part of the Ethiopian federal system now. When we take it uh, by what is happening to them, and uh, Abiy Ahmed, you know that the Ethiopian by the end of August was supposed the election was supposed to be held in Ethiopia in August, and that didn't happen because of COVID-19. And this is the reason, although it's not a reason, because there are, even now here in where I am now, we have election in Nasser, we have election. So the COVID-19 doesn't prohibit the nation from exercising their rights to vote and to elect the person whom they want. And but in Ethiopia, the Mr. Abiy Ahmed took advantage because he knows that, you know, after the atrocities and his failure to rule the country peacefully, after his failure, no one wants him to govern and to be the prime minister, and which means he's not. If the election takes place, that means he might not be elected. So what happened? That's why he didn't want it to. He made the COVID-19 as a reason to to cancel the election. And on all the regional governments in Ethiopia now, all states are illegal regional governments, including the prime minister. And if any of the regions now, the head of region do anything, he can sack him and he can fire him with no even, because there's no any constitution now, and there's no any rule that can be relied on, because everything now is illegitimate. So the Tigrayan people, I think they were smart enough to understand that Mr. Abiy Ahmed is if they didn't hold the election, I believe that they could have been fired by Mr. Abiy Ahmed, and they say that these people from now on no regional government is legitimate, so they could have been fired. But today, by this election, I think the Tigrayans, the government, the regional government of Tigray, are the regional government of Tigray is the most legitimate country government in the entire country. Even the prime minister is not legitimate, and the regional governments, whether in Benishangul, in Gambela, in Ogaden, in Oromia, in all these areas, and only that government now which is legitimate, who can speak on behalf of the Tigrayan people, who can even, I think, can speak on behalf of the Ethiopian people, is the Tigrayan government, because the Tigray government, because it is elected government. Even if they are elected by only by the Tigrayan people, still they can represent in situation where there is no elected government. They can represent Ethiopia until the election is held. So So that's what's going on. And from here, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Tigrayan people for the election and for the fair and just election that they held. And I think they are on the right track. And we hope that the other regions, the other states, to do the same thing. And instead of arresting people in the region and the state, I think it is better to legitimize your power. If you wanted to be in power, go to the people and see whether you are going to be elected or not. If they elect you, then you can go on, keep going on. And if they are not, if they elect someone else or other party, I think the other party should be given opportunity to govern and to rule. And I think Mr. Abiy Ahmed is wrong, because the way he got to and I go back also, the guy, he should feel ashamed of, because he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And unfortunately, until now, the question that we have, what made the international community to offer him that prize? The guy didn't, since he came to power, the entire country, especially in Benishangul and in Oromia and in Gambela, people are getting killed, and many people lost their lives, and there is no security and stability and the peace in all these regions. So, and at the same time, he is killing people and imprisoning people, and the politicians. Mr. Jawad is in prison, and those people who brought him to power. Even Mr. The defense minister, Magarsa, is no one knows where he's about. He killed a famous singer who's a revolutionary, Mr. Hashalo. So I think the entire acts of this prime minister didn't prove that he deserved to win that prize, Nobel Peace Prize, and violating also the constitution by postponing the election, and even extending his he wanted to stay to rule without any legitimate ground. And I think that is a violation for the constitution and the violation of the human rights in the country. And this, I think the Tigrayans, I would like all again and again congratulate the Tigrayan people and all of us. We are supposed to make a statement supporting the regional government of Tigray. Go back to you, Mr.
Khalid, to be sincere, for the last about 3 decades, you as a human rights defender has been campaigning, opposing the TPLF rule in the country on the ground of corruption, on the ground of human rights abuses, on the ground of lack of governance. What made you to change your mind so quick that you supported the controversial election in Tigray? What went wrong with the current regime that you think does not warranty the support for the regime or the change?
I never changed my mind about the TPLF, the time that they were in power. They have committed atrocities that never been committed by anyone in the history of Ethiopia. After Minilik yes committed atrocities in many regions, but after Minilik, they are the only people who committed the atrocities against all these indigenous people. And although we know that the Tigrayan people suffered from Minilik, but unfortunately, and they suffered from other governments. Unfortunately, when they came to power, when they were in power, they violated and they killed and they arrested, they looted the resources from other regions. And they still are not going to take all those accusations against them. But after they lost the power, and I know that many people from Benishangul, from Ogaden, and from Afar and from Gambela participated in a conference that were held in Mekelle. And all those participants and spoke about the violation and the atrocities that were committed by the TPLF during their time on the time in the government, in the time on the power. and they recognize, and they admit that they committed atrocity. They did many things, and but they ask for other for the people to cooperate together to in order to stop the atrocities that are committed nowadays by Mr. Abiy Ahmed's government. And when we take the Abiy Ahmed government, it takes you back, because Abiy Ahmed, what happens? Abiy Ahmed, he dreamt that his mom dreamt that he's going to be an empire. He's going to be like Mr. Menelik, Mr. Vampire Menelik, and which means he wants to take us back to the olden age when these regions were invaded by Menelik. And I think when Abiy Ahmed speak about empire and being back, being an empire, that means he is taking you back to the time that the atrocities were committed by Menelik. And once that should give you a sign, or that this government is not going to respect your people, and is not going to people's rights are not going to be protected. So that's why, and we have seen it practically when the same policy which were applied in during Menelik's time, when he invaded the south, Low Omo and Harar and Gambela and Benishangul, when they came and they looted this region and they settled the highlanders, and the highlanders became the owner of the land. They took the land and they grabbed the land from the indigenous people, and they became the owner of the land, while the indigenous lost everything. And so even the indigenous, not only that, they made the indigenous people to serve the highlanders, which happened in Walaita and in the southern nation. This didn't happen in Benishangul, didn't happen in Gambela, to allocate some families from the indigenous people to serve a highlander family. And that's what happened in southern nation. And so Mr. Abiy Ahmed, when he dreams, and when he dreams that he's an empire, and when he links his power with and work together with the Amara nationalists, that means that's what he wants to do. He wants to take the indigenous people back to the olden age, where our people are going to be subjugated to the unseen atrocities and unknown savage acts against the indigenous that took place by that time. And for us as indigenous people, we are not as in that we are not in the same situation as in the olden age where people were not educated. I think we are smart enough to understand what is Abiy Ahmed is planning for, and Mr. Abiy Ahmed is against even federalism. That's why he doesn't want to recognize the Tigrayan election. And for us as indigenous people and as the marginalized people, I think we need to stand firmly supporting the federalism. And when we support the federalism in Tigray under the election, we don't support the act of the Tigrayans against or what they did against the indigenous people. What we support is we support the principle of federalism, because we fought for it. Tigrayans didn't bring federalism by themselves. The federalism is what we brought all together. All Ethiopian nation fought for the federalism, and we brought federalism all together. So we cannot abandon federalism to allow Mr. Abiy Ahmed and his nationalist Amara to take us back to the centralism, and to the centralism where they control everything, where you don't have any right as a human being, and the only people who have the right in this country, as it happens during Minilik, is the Amara who imposed their culture and their language and everything on us. And if you see the national TV today, it is the same thing is happening. So instead of what makes me to use Amara as the regional why should I use the Amharic language? Why should I watch the Amara dance on my TV? Every region has their own culture. Everybody has his own history. Every region should teach and should study their own history, their own heroes. The hero of Benishangul, they have their own heroes. And the Gambela, they have own people, their own people, whom they are proud of, who struggled and fought for the right of the indigenous people, whether Gambela, Lo Omo, Benishangul, Ogaden, and all this region. So we shouldn't, as indigenous people, and all Ethiopian states and nations should not allow the Mr. Abiy Ahmed to take us back to the era, to the Minilik era, where atrocities were committed inhumanly. So, because Mr. Minilik and Zamara, when they eat the raw meat, they eat the meat raw meat. So that is because they don't have any mercy on human beings. They don't, even if they don't have mercy on animals, how can they have mercy on human beings? So that's what's happening. And when you see the atrocities that were committed in Gawe, it shows that these people are not merciful people. They don't have any mercy in their heart. They can kill you and they can do whatever they want. So as indigenous people and all Ethiopian people, they should stand firmly against any centralization or centralism. We have to support the election, we have to congratulate the Tigrayans, and we have to support the federalism as the principle for the nation. And I go back to you, Mr. Mikhail.
Well, in essence, Khalid, it sounds that your support is based on governance model rather than the records of human rights violations. But don't you think that the
Yep.
indigenous people and other Ethiopians deserve apology for the records of human rights violation, for the displacement, for corruption that was caused by the TPLF when they were in power?
Yes, I agree. Not only the TPLF. If these nationalists, the Tigrayan people, if they are smart now enough and they want to work together with the indigenous people, and for those regions whom their rights were violated, they should come out bravely with courage and apologize for all the atrocities that were committed in these indigenous regions. And uh, they should work together, call for alliance and forming alliance to work together. Because even Tigrayans themselves, they are minorities. They are not big people, big numbers. They are minorities, the same as Benishangul, as Gambela, and all these people. And I think for us, we call upon all the minorities to work together in order to protect our rights in this country. And as you brought this issue forward, I think also the Amara nationalists who claim and raise the slogan of unity. Before you call for the unity, I think we as indigenous people and the thousand nations and all these nations who were subjugated by force during Minilik invasion, I think all of us, we deserve an apology from these nationalists. And the Amharic people, they know that what kind of atrocities they committed on all in all these regions. Now, when we come to the Gumuz areas, these people, they committed a lot of atrocities. Many mass genocide were committed against the indigenous people in the northern part. And I think the Amara think that we don't know that. We know by dates and by time that all these atrocities were committed. And they need to come out and apologize for all those atrocities for the indigenous people. But still, what we want, and I said this in 2016 in the conferences that were held in America, that we should abandon the old system that needs to exploit and use the indigenous people, indigenous land. And we should form and agree on a new system where everybody has the right to rule himself and has the right for self-determination without any condition. Without any condition. I go back to you, to Mr. Mikhail.
Thank you, Khalid, for your time. We are coming to conclusions of this show. If any other comment, if any message you would want to say in in Barsa or in any other indigenous people language, please, it is the floor is yours.
Thank you. My first message is for the all indigenous people in Benishangul, in Gambela, in Lower Omo. Guys, we are very strong together. Our region is very resourceful region. We are strong on the ground when we come together. So I think the time has come for us to form alliance and to work together as one nation. We should agree to work together. We shouldn't work against each other. The time has come, and we shouldn't be exploited by those highlanders. We shouldn't be exploited by anyone. We are part. If any government is formed, we should be as the head on the head of the government or at the top of the government. We shouldn't always be at the back or at the last at last. We should be this time because we are the richest. We have a very fertile land. We are we have the gold, we have the water, we have everything. The time has come for us to rise up and climb the mountain and or be at the top of the mountain. And for our people in Benishangul, and I hope that I will send my message in Arabic or in my language that نحن بأي طريقة نحن نحاول أنه نعمل سويا مع أخواننا في جنبيلا وفي لو أومو. السياسة يا جماعة يعني هي بتتطلب بأنك أنت تلعب السياسة على كل الأصعدة، في كل المجالات. ونحن إذا توحدنا مع هذه الشعوب أنا أعتقد بأننا يعني بنقدر بأنه نحقق اللي هو الأشياء اللي ما ممكن نقدر نحققها لوحدنا، بأنه ممكن حتى الدولة هذه إذا تم حمايتها من المنظمات الدولية نحن بنقدر بالتوحد مع جنبيلا ومع لو أومو نحن بنقدر لأنه نحكم إثيوبيا دي شاء من شاء أو أبى من أبى، سواء كان ذلك بالقوة لأنه نحن بالقوة ما فيش إثيوبيا لا تستطيع أن تواجهنا. فبالتالي علينا أن ننظم أنفسنا، علينا أن نتوحد في رأينا ونمشي لقدام، وإن شاء الله يعني ستتحقق حرية وكرامة شعبنا إن شاء الله بإذن الله. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. And I go back to you, Mr. Mikhail, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Khalid, for your time, for your insight on the situations of human rights situations in the Benishangul Gumuz region. Viewers, thank you also for your time, and I hope this program, this interview with Khalid on the situations of human rights in the Benishangul Gumuz region has given you more information as to what is going on in that part of Ethiopia. And I hope you will join us again in the next program that we often run on Saturday on the indigenous media. So with this, we bring our live show to conclusion, and we wish you a happy Ethiopian New Year. And for those friends of Ethiopia who also celebrate, we also wish you happy Ethiopian New Year. And so join us again in the next program. Thank you.